Recorded live from the secret underground lair of Crimson Cowl Comics and Collectibles, this is the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast.
The following issues may contain spoilers. Howdy, partner. I'm Anthony.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Katie.
I'm Eric.
Welcome to issue number 337 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club. Every time we record, we talk about comic books. This week's episode, we're going to have weekly reviews. That's where we go back and forth, talk about the books that we've been reading, whether they're new, whether they're old. We're going to talk about them there. We won't have a club discussion, but as a reminder, upcoming we'll have Uncle Scrooge, Earth's Mightiest Duck, issue number 3 of 4. That'll be the next one that we talk about. And in our next recorded episode, we'll go through the November 2025 catalogs to find out what we're excited for the new year and possibly any future club discussions to be selected there. But this episode's going to be all about weekly reviews. Before we jump into that, this is becoming a trend now with welcoming back Dr. Kurtzstad and seeing David again for a nice little cameo and D. Brad jumping in from time to time. Big welcome back to Eric. Eric, welcome back to the club.
Thank you. It's great to be here again. There's at least some familiarity.
Yes. Not too much has changed, so you're going to fit right in.
Well, good.
There we go. So we're going to dive right into it with the weekly reviews. First up for me is a Kickstarter campaign backed project, The Greatest Little Luchador Ever. The path to being the greatest technico in all of Lucha Libre is one of honor, even if it means messing with a bull and getting its horns. Angel Del Luz strives to be a protector of the innocent on his way to becoming the greatest of all time. He faces his biggest challenge when he vows to rescue a dog and return him to his rightful owner. On his journey, Rudos try to foil his plans, meets possible new friends, and supernatural forces are even bound to show up along the way. Will these factors be an immovable force for the unstoppable Angel? This comic is done by Franco and Nick Aureliani. All right, so Franco and Nick from All Yeah Comics, they teamed up for this awesome Kickstarter campaign for characters that were spinning out of their LXT role-playing card game that came out, I think, last year. If you haven't checked out that game, you don't need any prior info, but you're just getting characters from that world, and now you're focusing on the Lucha Libre character Angel. What's cool about this is that I know that the Franco and Nick, a father and son duo, they are big fans of wrestling to begin with. So I knew that this was going to just be an extra layer of fun. We've talked about it time and time again about how popular wrestling type comics, not just with big WWE and things like that, AEW, but a lot of original wrestling comics have been very popular in the last half a decade, basically. And so I was actually excited for this, knowing that they had all that added passion with the wrestling world as well as superheroes. So these essentially are brand new characters here. What I really like about this one, this is all drawn and colored by Franco. It has just a really cool style to it. There's a little bit of like scratchiness to it. Like you can kind of see like watercolor paper textures and stuff like that. It's something that I think is just really fitting for the kind of book that we're dealing with. Angel basically comes across this dog that he finds and makes it his mission to help find the owner of this dog, going to the nearby town, getting stopped by these wrestlers that Angel has fought in the ring before. So these guys are basically looking for tag team partners and things like that. So everyone's kind of fighting over this dog, and whereas Angel, all he wants to do is return that dog to its rightful owner. As we go along the journey, we meet another character, the world famous Legata. Legata jumps into the scene as well as a as help for Angel, and they basically go on to continue the mission. That's just kind of the overall premise. Since this is a one-shot comic done through Kickstarter, I'm sure it'll be available at future tables for Franco's tables, as well as websites and future campaign add-ons and everything. So I don't want to spoil the issue, but this was a lot of fun. This year, if you're coming in as a wrestling fan, yeah, I think you'll be attracted to a lot of the feuding, the dialogue between the characters. Even though I don't think there's a single wrestling ring actual match in this one. Sometimes wrestling comics will actually dip into the ring, but mostly concentrate on, locker room stories, if you will, and whatever. This is mostly existing like within a desert landscape, but dealing with these wrestlers kind of still in their personas and stuff. So you still get a lot of the same kind of vibes as you would in like promos and locker room fights and little things like that they do on wrestling programs. So I think you'll like that. It brings in some supernatural stuff as well, to kind of just mix all the things into kind of one genre. Very funny book, very fun, very bright. It's an oversized comic book. I don't know what the exact page count, but it might be double the size if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, this was a ton of fun. You got the Angel character. I mentioned Legata. I will reveal the one of the villains here, who is El Toro Diablo, as mentioned in the synopsis. Here's the bull that comes in that also wants to interrupt Angel's mission to return that dog. So yeah, a lot of fun characters in here, and I really enjoyed it. And hopefully we get to see more. But ultimately, it is a done-in-one story, and yeah, that's pretty much all. Oh yeah, I'll mention with the Kickstarter, had the comic book, and then with whatever stretch goals and stuff like that, not remembering what was going to come with it. So some stickers of these characters have showed up as well. So that was awesome, as well as a handy dandy bookmark that I know will be getting a lot of use, double sided with two different images on both sides. And then through the Kickstarter campaign to kind of help boost the numbers and everything, there was a couple add-on, one of one type things where you can get like a really good deal on a Franco original sketch, a character of your choice, whether it's from their world or just whatever. So this is the year I've been getting a lot of Powdered Toast Man. So here is Powdered Toast Man, drawn by Franco, an original art piece. I did not see that prior to submitting my character request, so that was a lot of fun. And then another one of one thing is I own a couple Franco paintings, both large and small. And here's another one of Batgirl. So he offered this cool canvas painting here. Just his styles, I just love it, and what he does with the colors and the shapes, and just changes. He has a lot of fun with every kind of piece that he does, and kind of almost reinvents himself with everything, whether it's the interiors of this comic or his paintings and everything. And he's just a multi-talented artist of many different styles. So yeah, that was a ton of fun. Highly recommend that comic. It's a lot of fun. It's appropriate for kids and everything, kids and adults of all ages. So check it out. That is the greatest little luchador ever. And if you go to Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube, we did have Franco and Nick on a recent episode to talk about that, as well as draw along with us. So if you need a little more information, you can check out their episode on Cartoonist by Night. All right, we're going to jump over to Kirby. What you got for us?
I got the biggest DC event of the year going on right now with DC KO. They got these nice AEW crossover covers. There's quite a few issues to it. It's actually kind of confusing to start off with, because I know like Knight's Quest has two different Batmans going at each other and stuff, and that's like a 4 or 5 issue series where they have all these one shots also of the different characters. It basically starts out with Superman showing off these brass knuckle style things that he whipped up that have the little suns in them, and so he can basically feed off the sun's energy or use it. And when he hits someone, you got the power of 5 suns hitting you. So they sound pretty pretty nasty. But you see him with those and him getting ready to walk into an arena for a battle, and then it jumps into the storyline. I can't help but spoil by reviewing this, so if you are following this, you may not want to hear everything, but basically we find out that Darkseid appears in the city and he's got all these extra powers. The whole city's lit up in this bright red light from all these rays that he's shooting off himself. He apparently, the one world that made him and stuff has like a world engine in it that's uh, the alpha engine, and he personally put the Omega engine inside in the center of Earth. So our superheroes are basically, they guesstimate all that the OA people, the Watchers, they sat there and pulled Superman aside and a few other people, Batman, Wonder Woman, and stuff, and explained to him that this is happening. Darkseid's coming. Everything's getting wiped out. All universes, everything is just going to be completely destroyed. And they, the Watchers, pull them back 7 days. So they're like, there's no way to stop it. There's nothing you can do about it. But then they're like, well, there is this one option, because Booster Gold worked. He was with Darkseid for a while, and he collected a ton of that energy that Darkseid has. So if they could get Booster Gold and all them down to the Omega engine in the center of the Earth, they could probably break through some dimension that it has, and then they have to go in and battle each other, and the battles to the death. So everybody's going to die except for one person. That person will take over Darkseid's position and be the new world god type character. And so Superman and them all agree, let's do this. It's our only option, only chance. So they stupidly, in my opinion, spend the first 6 days, one day, putting all the criminals under surveillance. You have Mr. Majestic sits there and sends out all his little robot things. So there's one on every different villain to watch them and make sure nothing happens while all the good superheroes are off doing this and Earth is left alone with no protectors. But then they do decide to leave. I think it was like the Teen Titans and a couple other characters stayed behind to help control anything bad on Earth. But when the first day they used to do that, the second day they used to spend time with family, the third day they're getting people together. I mean, they waste 5 days doing this, and then when they got one day left, they're like, we're going to go in there, we're going to hopefully beat this whole thing in time. It's like, well, why wouldn't you just take the earlier days and go earlier so you definitely have enough time? And that makes sense to me. But they do go off, they start going, and people start getting killed off before they even get into the main arena part of it, because as people start entering the portal to wherever they're going for the big battle, the portal keeps shrinking. Only a certain amount of characters are going to be allowed through it before it shuts. And they, let's see if I can find the oh, they don't. I course ain't gonna find it. Here's the Watchers that are letting them know what's going on. I'm gonna show them getting the bad guys secured, but for some reason that page isn't popping up. Oh, here it is. Here's all the little robots going off. But there's every character they can think of, the Joker and all them, and Doom, and all the people that would probably go for the wrong thing if they had all the power and won the tournament and stuff. But then once we get down into the area where they're the battle's going to begin, there's these giant god creatures that are there, and they basically have to battle with them to get through to the portal. And so as that's happening, spoiler, Batman even gets killed, doesn't make it into the portal. That's why I was so confused with the whole night quest thing. So it must be the dark or the Dark Knight and then the Nightfall Batman characters, I'm guessing, are the two in there. But once everybody starts going through the portal, all of a sudden these guys show up. Yeah, the Joker, Doctor Doom, and the Miss Giganta, what's her name, Cheetah, and stuff. There's a handful of baddies that end up appearing, and they're like, "How the heck did you get down here?" Yeah, and even know what they were doing and what was going on with everything. But yeah, so they start heading towards the portal, and Superman is basically more interested in getting everybody in the portal than getting himself in there. He ends up being the last one to go through the portal. But here are the characters that did make it through. Cooper Island, King Shark, Hawkman.
And I think you've said Doom or Doctor Doom. Is there someone else? Is that a different name or?
It's Doctor Doom. Yeah.
There's a Doctor Doom for DC, or is it a?
Oh, this one, or
Lex Luthor.
Yeah, Lex Luthor.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Just wanted to make sure because they have been doing Marvel DC
the green outfit and stuff for some reason.
Just wanted to clarify for yep.
But yeah, I was surprised even Starro was in there, and
oh, nice.
So I was very surprised on the ones that did make it through. Swamp Thing made it through, which I was happy about.
Nice.
But yeah, the way they have the whole tournament laid out, it's going to be interesting. As you can see here, this is the whole tournament bracket that you can follow and stuff. And there's one name that's crossed out so far, and that's Batman. So,
yeah.
So yeah, he was apparently supposed to make it through the portal, but you would think someone else would have got his position because he didn't make it through the portal. But not sure why they did that. Or there's going to be some type of clause where Batman gets to come back in the end or something and pull something off. That might be something going on. And there is rumor that they are going to probably do the usual and end it with Batman against Superman in the final battle or something like that. But no one knows for sure until they get through the tournament. But yeah, this is very interesting. I really like this storyline stuff, but there's just so many different comics. I don't know if I want to follow them all or wait for like a overall trade that just puts it all in order.
And those covers, are they just unrelated? Is that just a variant cover with wrestlers on, or what?
Yeah, they did something with AEW that like all the first individual covers have a crossover with it.
Okay.
I know my cover 2 is Harley, and I can't remember, she's with one of the female wrestlers or something like that. Yeah, they just did an AEW crossover with it, so I had to get those covers. But I only got this one and the second one. That's all I ordered, because then I started seeing the multi-issue runs popping out, and I'm like, well, how many is there going to be overall to do this? So. But it should be a fun event. I'll definitely follow the ending at least.
All right. Well, we're 2 for 2 on unplanned wrestling storyline related comic reviews. We're going to find out if the next comic that Kitty's talking about has any kind of wrestling theme in there. What you got?
All right. I have Disney Stitch from Dynamite and in partnership with Disney Comics. The writers are Connor Ratliff and James III. Oh. Greta Zella is the artist. Fabio Amelia is the letterer. And Edwin Galmon does the main cover. You'll notice there's no inker on there. Or separate colorist, which I think is going to be relevant to my review. So, this is one of 3 Stitch comics that are available right now, and it's not what I was expecting. So let's just kind of break down the general format. Pleakley and Jumba are having some wacky, goofy adventures in each of these comics. Jumba makes some kind of new magical doodad that he wants to get him into get him some street credit with the other intergalactic villains, and then Stitch gets a hold of it and things go wrong, is pretty much the format for these books. In this one, Jumba has made a miracle villain hair cream because he's bald. He doesn't actually have hair, so he's hoping it will help him grow hair. And he says, well, I have it verified that only I can take it, and he has like 2-factor authentication for only him. Well, Stitch makes his hand look like Jumba's and swipes the hair cream, and now Stitch has a goofy new hairdo, and it won't come off. He's just kind of stuck with this, and he feels kind of awkward about that. And then eventually he bumps into Agent Bubbles, and after causing a bunch of havoc in town, like scaring some ostriches at the ostrich farm, confusing the people doing yoga at the park, and terrifying the mime, who's just kind of the mime is around. They're just kind of there. And Stitch is having a bad time. He doesn't like his new haircut, and Jumba's mad at him. Agent Bubbles shows up and basically is trying to help him see his new style in a bit of a different light. And his suggestion is, well, you won't, stand out and be so weird if everybody has a goofy new hairdo. So then Stitch uses the hair gel to give everybody a fancy new maroon pompadour hairstyle. And that's the end of the book. So this was not what I was expecting. Charitably, I want to put this in the best light. I think this to me feels like a rough draft idea that got rushed through. I think this needed a little bit more time to cook. I think it needed some editor's oversight, like, not to be nitpicky, but there's grammar errors literally on the title page. Mm-hmm. And one thing is, you would say, okay, this is a kid's comic, it's not that serious. And I agree, it's not. However, quality still matters in a kid's book. To me, a kid's book is not an excuse to, just throw something together and push it out the door. I don't agree with that idea. The art style, I couldn't pinpoint what was off about it. And then I realized there's very minimal, like, line art or inking in this at all. And when I took a closer look at the title page, I said, yeah, actually, there's no inker, there's no penciler on this. Now, to me, it seemed like they were going for the idea, like, if this comic with crayons, this is what we think it would look like, which is cool in concept. But there's just something off about it that loses the soul of, hey, maybe a child did draw this. And I also think that this does not provide enough value as a comic to stand on its own as a $4.99 comic. There's a few others that are available right now, and something that I think that would have helped these be stronger is either including them as the B story in, like, say, the Lilo and Stitch Ohana, or, maybe one of the mangas. I think that could work really good. Or give us a, 100-page Pleakley and Jumba's super gooftacular special for $5. And again, that I think would deliver more value. And I'll talk about the other ones, but if I weren't reading this for the club, I would have stopped right here and said, nah, this is not worth it. But I figured, well, I'm bringing it to the club and I want to be able to see if it gets better. So sure. I do think it gets better in some ways as it goes. And I will get back to you about that in the next round. But that's my review of Stitch #1.
Okay, yeah, I was curious about this because I'm a fan of Connor Ratliff through the George Lucas Talk Show. If anybody hasn't heard what that is, it is a long-running comedy show where Connor plays George Lucas, and the panel of people on the show, they're all Star Wars fans, but, they're poking fun at things, but you can tell, like, they know their stuff and they are just, having fun with it and everything. But I saw his name was attached to it, so I was curious on this. And it coincided with you bringing the Lilo and Stitch comics to the club, and I'm like, am I going to be picking up some Stitch comics too? So I'll be curious to hear about the other issues. So
I'm actually glad you brought that up. That adds some context, because there were a couple of moments, particularly in issue 1, where the dialogue did not match the audience that they're going for. Okay. Now, Amazon says, oh, this is for 12 and up. I'm like, I'm pretty sure every 12-year-old would laugh their butts off at this and be way too cool for this, I would say this is for 8 and under.
Okay.
And there were just a couple of moments where it wasn't like it was like inappropriate or dirty, but it didn't match up. It's talking about like internet culture that kids of that age wouldn't know, and randomly throwing in really big words. So I'm glad you added that context that, he kind of plays a very erudite, but also kind of not a very aware character on his show.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
In my opinion, if you are interested in these, I would say either get the trade or wait for them to go on like, Comixology Unlimited or something.
Yeah, Kindle deal or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to hear. All right. Well, we've run out of time for the show. Sorry, Eric. We got to go. Oh, wait. No, you can.
Bye. See ya.
Whatever you got to talk about, this is your time. What you got?
All right. Well, it's me. So naturally, the Punisher has to come up.
Of course.
Last year has not been really kind with the Punisher. It's at most in the comics, it was, what was his name? Joe. Yeah, it tells you how big deal. Joe something, who was a former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. But last month, there were 2 Punisher titles to actually come out. One of them being the Marvel Knights World to Come, the Punisher. I was worried that it was that it might actually be Joe, but it turns out no, this is Frank. And even though the skull is different, you see it's still Frank, but somehow they decided to give him the Mr. Fantastic white on the sides.
Yeah.
I mean, he is getting up there in years, so I mean, it wouldn't be out of character for him to sprout some gray hair. But basically, this one opens up. He's looking to fight a drug ring for a new drug called Zombie, which, seeing it get used on a character in here, seems to be a lot like scopolamine, which is an actual drug that gets used in South America. People will come up to you, blow it in your face, and they'll tell you what to do, and you're going to do it. But yeah, so I don't know why, but people have been abusing this, and it's like, but so Frank fights this cartel with their zombie drug. He ends up fighting a guy named El Zombie, and he would win, except somebody hits him with a blow dart, drugs him. And this is where I think the story is going to turn out real bad for the head of the cartel, because apparently Frank had ended up killing the head of the cartel's son. So he decided what he's going to do. He's going to take Frank, stick him in his basement bunker, beat him up, drug him, pump him full with lots of El Zombie, or the zombie drug. And then with something, you see, it's going to really mess with Frank as if he hasn't been messed with enough. You see a family enjoying breakfast. The peace is shattered.
Oh boy.
And it's Frank being El Zombie. So you see the Punisher actually committing the act that turned him into the Punisher in the first place. I think Frank's been through more than enough, but the Marvel Knight Band, I don't know. I'd like to see it continue, but after this, I need to see what happens next.
Yeah.
Because he was fighting the drug till he couldn't anymore. Yeah.
Okay.
Say it ain't so, Frank.
This is like a Captain America Hail Hydra issue 1 finale, and then they get you to come back for issue 2 to figure it out.
Yeah, essentially. Then there's another Punisher that came out, the Punisher Red Band.
All right.
Where this one opens up. Frank is in Frank wakes up on a boat, all bloodied. He doesn't know what's going on at all. There's fire going on around him. He doesn't know who he is. He just knows he needs to get out of there. He needs to kill any bad guy, but not a good guy. He just needs to get out. So he manages to make an escape. It then cuts to an odd scene that most people wouldn't expect. We see a conversation in a confessional, and there is a character who we know for being very Catholic. It's not Daredevil though. It is Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin. Now, if you've been reading the Daredevil series, Wilson Fisk had been possessed by the deadly sin of greed, and Daredevil, being a priest, exorcised him, and Wilson Fisk became Catholic as a result of it. So at first you wonder why that's happening. It later cuts away to Frank coming out of the ocean, being found by an old woman. He does the Rambo self-medication, self-stitching, routine, yanking out the bullets. And still doesn't know who he is until you see Wilson Fisk at a computer saying, "You've rested long enough, Frank." See a computer screen that says "Activate Punisher," and all of a sudden, Frank needs guns. So I'm starting to see a theme here with the latest Punisher releases where the Punisher is not 100% in control. And I feel that it's kind of an allegory to the way the Punisher has constantly been pulled in many different directions, how he was an avenging angel, then an agent of the Hand who decided he wasn't going to be the Punisher anymore. This just seems to be, I can't help but feel it's a total allegory for, a character that it doesn't have the largest fan base, but it has a loyal fan base who just wants Frank to be Frank. We remember the old Mike Baron run, where he was the one-man army against organized crime. But, so, of course I'm going to read them because, I do kind of like the Punisher a little.
But you do.
So, I don't know. I'm hoping that this can end up in another ongoing series for him, if he can, break free from the control. Though I do have to wonder even if the Punisher in the Red Band series is the Punisher at all now. Because, their Punisher did end up in Weird World at one point. No reason, there's, never been any reason as to why he would be back. So either way, I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. I'm just hoping they don't do Frank dirty again.
Well, we'll be staying tuned to find out. All right, moving on to a different tone of a book. I'm talking about Sib Squad. They're the Sib Squad, the youngest of 7 siblings, Lucy, Bruce, and Oliver, who are a chameleon, a woodchuck, and a duck. They're sick and tired of being told that they are too little to do the things their older siblings do. In a bout of bored frustration, they band together to form Sib Squad, a club of their own dedicated to having amazing, mind-blowing adventures, and adventures they have. In this first book of the series, the Sib Squad launches the club at their treehouse headquarters, then find themselves drawn into multiple adventures that includes wishes at a wishing well gone wrong and an unlikely encounter with a younger sibling from outer space. As young readers delve into the trio's hijinks, and 40-some-year-old readers, they will find themselves struck with uncontrollable giggles and some unquenchable desire to seek adventures of their own. This is done completely by Steve Breen, who is a graphic novel Pulitzer Prize-winning cartoonist. But yeah, I think he did all of the chores here when it comes to writing and art. So yeah, we right away are meeting the Woodson family. The Woodson family are this pig couple who have 7 children. 7 children, as you see on the page here, all different animal species, and they're all hanging out. And there's 7 kids. What I found out in the bio is that the author and cartoonist himself grew up in a family of 7 and has many kids of his own. So he kind of lends into the lifestyle of always being surrounded by siblings, one form or another. The older siblings, we got Bethany, Carl, Wendy, and Anne, which looks like we have a mouse, a turtle, a bear, and a cat looking at the top there. But they got the whole family tree there of the 7 children. We quickly learn about their family. We learn about we get some commentary from some pigeons that are just hanging out throughout the book. But the younger siblings keep seeing the older siblings getting to do things that they're not allowed to do. For instance, the older siblings are out with grandpa over there and they're out sailing. The kids are too young to do that, so the older ones get to do it. There's a bunch of different things with different activities and sports, and they just kind of go through all of the different things that they're basically not allowed or not old enough to do yet. And that leads to them to start their club in the treehouse headquarters there, as our 3 main characters, Lucy, Bruce, and Oliver, are getting ready to form the rules of their club and designate the adventures that they're going to be doing. What's kind of funny is that throughout the book, there are little like factoid pages that are done in the cartoonist style, just kind of like little like learning lessons type of thing. So it says famous younger siblings: Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Michael Jordan, Tina Fey, Walt Disney, and Joan of Arc. So it's just kind of fun that they have these throughout the book, a bunch of like just little cartoonist factoids about siblings and whatever we're dealing with. I'll show off some art pages here to describe the rest, but once again, these characters, there's a lot of comedy with it, especially when it gets to them just figuring out what they're going to do now that they've formed the Sib Squad and trying to figure out their ideas and the world is their oyster and all that kind of stuff. It packed with comedy, great commentary from the pigeons throughout the book. All of these characters, they meet a couple characters along the way. This is a favorite scene of mine. They want to talk to this. Let me just see how they describe him. He's a. Let's see here. Okay, they want to visit Mr. Goggins, but then they're like, but he's the crabbiest guy in town, but he's also the oldest guy in town. So they want some advice. And they go into Mr. Goggins' home, and we find out that Mr. Goggins is this real old turtle guy here. And they announce themselves. We're the Sib Squad. He's like, Sit Squad? They're like, Sib Squad. He's like, Spit Snot. So there's a lot of good comedy with this older turtle character throughout the issue as they're looking for a wishing well. But yep, so some cool character designs. There was the tease of a spaceship story that is also like a B story in this book as well. This was a ton of fun. I think there's at least another one out, or at least coming out. This was sitting on my stack for a while until I got around to check it out. But I know that there are some other ones down or advertised or whatever. This says the first book in the series. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. I like the title and it looked fun. I wasn't familiar with Steve Breen at all, but it was definitely a good read for, once again, for children and grown-up children. So there we go. Sib Squad, a graphic novel by Steve Breen. All right. Now, first round, we kicked it off with some wrestling stories. Second round, I kicked it off with some animal stories. Kirby, what you got for this round? Anything related to animals?
No, they're all kind of animals.
Okay, there we go.
We got Marvel, Black, White, and Blood and Guts, issue 1. None of this is on the inside other than Blade.
Okay.
So I don't know why they went with that cover.
Interesting.
But there's 3 stories in here, but it feels more like 2. You got The Trail done by Al Ewing, Kev Walker, and VC's Joe Sabino. You got Traffic done by C. Willow Wilson, I mean.
G. Willow Wilson.
Yeah, I don't know. I got cataracts.
She's a favorite of mine, so I just want to correct that.
And Dev Malia Promanik and VC's Joe Sabino. And Chris Condon, Claire Rowe, and Dee Knief are the ones on the Price of Iron. It's like the first 2 stories worked so perfectly together, it just felt like one story. The whole storyline flowed really nice in there. So you see this guy in the first page getting drank by a vampire. He's just sitting there playing on his phone and stuff. He's got it all set up. He wants to be turned into a vampire, and he's part of a high-class family. So once he gets the vampiric power, he starts a whole organization, this V-chain thing, where they make these little bracelets that you can put on your wrist, and it tells you your blood type, it keeps track of your heartbeat, blood pressure, all those good things. But yet it's linked into a system, so all these vampires can kind of watch you. And as long as you do things, stay healthy and all that, you win prizes, earn things. And then if you make it to a certain period, you get to go to this special little island, private island, and go hang out. And basically you're going to end up hooked up to a blood system, and they're going to be draining your blood for the rest of your life. But then we see Blade just appear, and he's sitting there with a guy that he just killed, a vampire. And he is hunting these characters down and trying to find out what is going on. And he works his way into their main club. And when he gets in there, he finds out that there's people in body bags and stuff. They're, well, not body bags, but they're basically hung like meat, just being fed off of continuously so they can refill their blood supplies. But yeah, he deals with that corporation and stuff, and then all of a sudden it just goes right to this page. That's why I didn't see no headlines or nothing, but there's this little vampire girl that she's apparently part of that family bloodline, and she's trying to get out of there because the other vampires, if they can drink her blood, they get extra powers and stuff because that family's been around longer than anything. And so people are trying to hunt her down and feed on her. And she has a place that she can go and get to where basically the vampires from this area won't go to because there's different clan that runs that area, that territory and stuff like that. But where she's trying to get to, there are a few members of that family still alive, and she's trying to get by them so she can get the protection that she needs. But while she's with Blade and they get chased, he gets in his car so they aren't running anymore. They're at least trying to get away, but vampires are jumping on the car, and they go flying off a bridge to get the vamps off the car, and they land right in between a bunch of other vehicles in heavy traffic. So then they have to get back on foot again, and they go off, and we find out some stuff about the girl in the end of that story that I'm not going to spoil or anything, but they were both really good stories, and I really like how they just kind of flew right into each other, flowed nicely. and then you go and jump off that. And the third story is basically a couple of kids that hear about this older lady that has some Iron Man, an Iron Man outfit locked away in one of her closets or whatever, and we find out that it's the outfit that Iron Man died in. And there's the old creepy house that they go into. And then we find out that what happened with Iron Man is some wizard type character put a curse on the Iron Man outfit, and basically the outfit you can see all the blood coming out of his outfit and stuff. That his armor starts eating him alive from the inside. So that's how Iron Man dies. These kids break into the house. They find the Iron Man suit, and the one kid puts the helmet on. And once he puts the helmet on, it ain't coming off. It doesn't want to come off. The kid's freaking out. He's like, "You got to help me." He tells the other kid that there's a hammer and a crowbar off to the side. He's like, "Grab that and use it." And there's a hammer and crowbar there. So the kid grabs it and starts to try and, well, before that happens, the kid shows him. That's why he freaks out and really wants to get the helmet off. But he wanted a picture of him with the helmet on. So the other kid's taking a picture, and when he takes the picture, it shows the kid completely covered in blood.
Yikes.
And blood all over the room, and you can see it's coming from the helmet. The kid freaks out and wants the helmet off, so he tells him to grab the sledgehammer and the thing and get his helmet off. And yeah, he does go after it and stuff, but you're just gonna end up stabbing the kid in the head or something. So get all frightened with the thing against his face, but he gets the face shield off, but the kid still can't get out of the helmet, and the helmet starts basically eating the kid from the inside out. This was a really fun issue. I think this is going to be a 4 or 5 issue run. Hopefully we will see some Werewolf by Night and Moon Knight and all these characters in there. But yeah, this was a big enjoyment. I really enjoyed it. So check out Marvel Black, White, and Blood and Gut.
All right, we are going to hear some more from Katie about Stitch. What you got?
You got it. We have Stitch number 2, same publishers, same creative team. This time, Dr. Jumba's big invention is a newfangled doohickey that can switch things. He demonstrates it switching the Tale of Two Cities novel with the Big Book of Pasta cookbook. And now the Big Book of Pasta is all about the French Revolution, and the Tale of Two Cities is all about pasta. And Stitch grabs a hold of this magical doohickey switcheroo thingamabob, even though he got told not to, and starts using it on everybody. And now everybody's getting body swapped, and it's pretty goofy and hilarious, and the whole town is just chaotic. Lots of issues. We got dogs that are, speaking English, and all kinds of goofy things. And neighbors who had been fighting with each other over, their property line are now arguing their point from the opposite body. And it's a great gag. We've seen it before, and it works every single time. It's always funny. Eventually, the United Galactic Federation lady comes and says, "What the heck? You guys need to figure this out." Well, she gets switched too, and she ends up getting a dog in this book. It's funny, it's silly. Well, eventually the chaos gets out of control, and a few weeks later, Dr. Jumba, who's been put into some hipster guy's body, is now making a unswitcheroo gadget that gets everybody back to their original bodies. And it's all going to be okay. And Agent Bubbles gets his sunglasses back. And one kind of key point is for his work in making everybody get switched back, Dr. Jumba gets called a hero on live TV. And the group of bad guys known as eggs or EGGS saw this broadcast and said, well, we're kicking you out and canceling your subscription because you're clearly not a bad guy. You got called a hero on TV. And that makes Jimba, pull his hair out and steam come out of his ears while Pleakley and Stitch laugh at him. I gotta say, this actually, to me, this improved on the last book. It just feels a little bit more polished, like it does have a little bit more soul. It's taking, kind of a common cartoon trope and executing it in a way that, maintains that it's funny and it's silly and, generally harmless. Nobody's getting really hurt by this. I will say, if you're reading this expecting Stitch to be the main character because, it has his name on it and his face on the cover, he's more like the instigator for the goofy chaos stuff. This is really a Pleakley and Jimba series. I think, like I said, these will deliver more value either in a collection or maybe as a B story. But I am happy to say this one did improve. Just overall, it felt more finished, felt more done, like they learned, maybe from the feedback they got on their first comic. And we respect that. Not, writing is a process and comics are a very tough business. And, saying, hey, I want to get better and then actually taking that chance to do so is pretty cool. I respect that a lot. And I thought this one was pretty fun. If you're a Stitch mega fan, you would probably enjoy this. If you are like, hey, I just want a Lilo and Stitch comic for my kid, this will be just fine. But I would also say, hey, look at, some of the Stitch manga or the Lilo and Stitch comic we just reviewed. One pro to this series is it's very episodic. So if, your kid just grabs this at the shop, they'll be able to follow it. There's no complex lore here. I mean, if you have the vaguest idea about Lilo and Stitch, you'll be able to figure this out. So I think that could be a pro for people who are just looking for something very, very casual. Anyway, that's my review of Stitch 2, and we'll cover Stitch 3 in the next round. Check it out.
Okay. I like the build up here, the review of that first issue, making you question the next one. Now we're kind of amped up and can't wait to hear about the third.
Yeah.
All right. Once again, we're out of time. Sorry, Eric. Oh wait, you can go again.
Yeah.
I'll try that joke one more time. So go ahead.
Third time will be a charm, right? Well, we'll just go with the flow with Flow from Mad Cave Studios. This has actually been a neat publisher. It's come along. I find it very reminiscent of Aftershock. Seems to have the same kind of stories. So I'm I think Mad Cave has pretty much filled the void that Aftershock left with its, with getting shut down. But anyway, this is a somewhat horror suspense story written by Paula Sevenbergen. At least I hope I'm getting that right. It sounds rather Norwegian, so maybe Sevenbergen. I don't know. If I butchered it, Paula, I'm sorry. It's somewhat Carrie-esque. It starts off with a fairly traumatic experience for a young girl. She's at a camp that's been established to keep kids off of the internet. So they go there, they play, they do actual activities. And this poor girl, she gets her first period. She was raised by her father, who never thought to think, maybe I should tell my daughter about these things. But anyway. So she has to go through that. And a lot of that story is told in flashbacks. The story that takes place in present day are among many of the old members of the group at the camp who tormented her. You see, her mother had actually been responsible for the explosion of a chemical plant, and her mother was also a witch or of some type. I don't know, the specifics haven't quite come out yet, but the other kids at camp told her that it was a curse, and they started tormenting her, like getting her to eat a bug, eat dirt, carry a fish head around because that'll help absorb the curse out of her. Meanwhile, nobody tells this little girl what she's going through. But in the present day, many of the people who were at the camp, they stayed in contact, but weird things are happening. Like, like a lady who's a scientist, she just out of nowhere vomits up a bug. And then she remembers, oh, darn, I made her eat that bug one time. She gives her lover a kiss and dirt comes out of her mouth into his.
Hmm.
And it's not just her, but the same thing seems to be happening to many of the other students at the camp or children at the camp in their adult years, and they don't exactly know what's going on. They try to find her, and all they know is she has no online presence. And you find out it's odd that she got sent to this camp because she never went online to begin with. So I like the art style. It's fairly colorful. But yeah, the story itself, it has much better pacing than than I went through it. But like I said, if you liked Aftershock and a lot of their horror, suspense, sci-fi, I think Flow would actually be a really good story for you to check out.
All right.
So-
All right, starting our last round here. When I was looking at the stack of graphic novels, wondering what to talk about and read today, I just kind of grabbed two that kind of caught my eye that it kind of mixed around in my pre-order pile. And little did I recognize at first that they were done by the same guy. So Steve Breen also did the next title I'm talking about here, which is Sky and Tie. Howdy, partner. Meet the best delivery service this side of the Mississippi, run by no-nonsense cowgirl Sky and her slightly goofy but always dependable partner, T-Rex, Ty. No task is too big or too small for this dynamic duo, and they've never missed a delivery yet. But learning to work together hasn't always been easy for them. Saddle up as Sky and Ty figure out they both can help solve a little bear problem, and teamwork and some speedy thinking save the day when they tackle getting their first package to its destination just in time. The first book in this funny and warm young chapter book graphic novel series by two-time Pulitzer Prize winning Steve Breen features two stories rendered in vibrant three-color art interspersed with fun facts, jokes, and activities. So yeah, once again, like that first book I talked about with the Sib Squad, this one also has the stuff, the fun little facts and information pages throughout the book. And yeah, this was a ton of fun. It was just really great, just how I read that first one, went to the stack and flipped through and be like, oh, this one, I could probably read this in a sitting, and then realizing I randomly picked two titles from the same creator. But yep, you got Sky and Ty. Sky, the little cowgirl, and she talks about how when most cowgirls dream of getting a pony when they're old enough, but she goes, but not Sky McGill. She wanted a dinosaur. So there was a drawing of a dinosaur that she was working on while all the other kids were drawing horses and ponies and all that fun stuff. So she dreams of having a dinosaur, and on her 8th birthday, she kind of goes venturing out to try to find one. She goes through the woods and going through the mountains and the deserts and stumbles across a cave, and in that cave pops out a dinosaur. But this dinosaur is not really the ferocious one that she had in her drawing. And she actually shows this dinosaur that, and is sort of let down. There's a little bit of rudeness that is brought out in this moment here, and Ty the dinosaur actually does call it out, and is talking about I'm not really someone's pet. I would never be somebody's pet, and there's kind of a discussion on that. The dreams that Sky would have with having a dinosaur to kind of command in a way. She has all these dreams, but she's a little disappointed that maybe this dinosaur that she found isn't quite what she had hoped for. But as the synopsis had teased, and this will be kind of the jumping off point for revealing what's happening in the book, to kind of tease that both Sky and Ty witness something that is happening below them. They're looking down there as there is a bear that is trapping a bunny rabbit, and this is when Sky and Ty realize that they could team up together to save this bunny rabbit against this bear. And there's a fun little showdown between the T-Rex and the bear there, eye to eye. It ends in a way that you wouldn't expect, so I'm just going to leave it right there. But yeah, once again, this is a ton of fun. You get the facts that are throughout the book, including some Jurassic jokes. So some Jurassic jokes are written here. I'll just give one or two of them here. Let's see here. What dinosaur could jump higher than a house? All of them. Houses can't jump. And let's see here. Here, this is my favorite one, everybody. I'm so glad Eric's here for these because, he loves this kind of humor and puns and stuff like that. Why can't you hear? I should have picked a different one because I can't pronounce this one. It's kind of like a pterodactyl, but it's a pterosaur, spelled with a P in the beginning, pterosaur. So why can't you hear a pterosaur use the bathroom? Because the P is silent. So yeah, I haven't heard of a pterosaur myself, but yeah. Anyways, this was a lot of fun. There's another one of those that there's more in the series that they advertise. I don't know the status if they're all available yet, but these are adorable. They're fun. They're funny. They're adventurous. Both Sib Squad and Sky and Ty, I highly recommend. I had a blast with these. So I know these ones will most likely be purchased again and gifted to some young ones in my life that I know they'll enjoy these. So there we go. That was a double dose of Steve Breen in this episode. That'll conclude my pick for this round. Let's jump over to Kirby. What you got?
I usually don't review comics much beyond issue 1, but this is actually considered volume 2, issue 1. They brought Rook Exodus back, and this is issue 7. But it is the second season of it. And there's going to be spoilage here because the overall storylines push pretty fast in this one. But we get to see this buck drinking from a lake, and then all of a sudden, a bunch of dog characters start surrounding and chasing the elk. And when we get introduced to a new character with a new mask, an elk character, and the dog character, he's kind of lost it. He's basically hasn't taken the helmet off in a long time. And if you don't, you get kind of really, really connected to the animals, because if you don't know anything about this storyline at all, it's basically everybody was getting off the planet because the planet's going to die. All these people that had animal helmets, they were left behind on the planet, and each helmet represents a different animal, and whoever's got that helmet can control those type of animals to an extent. Sometimes the animals can fight it and stuff like that, but they'll usually become a pack with the helmet wearer eventually, except for our main character, Rook. He's still learning about dealing with the crows, and the crows will get mad at him sometimes, just not put up with what he wants them to do. But they have gotten way better. He has been working more with them and stuff like that. But yeah, the artwork's beautiful in here with all the animals and the fight scenes even and stuff. It's like, yeah, they do a wonderful job with it. But we find out that Rook and the wolf, the lady that controls the wolves, they're basically trying to collect, well, them and the turtle connected guy they got a hold of the world map type area that shows where all the different wardens are that have the different masks, and they're trying to hook up with all the ones that might work with them first, and then try and get some of the other ones, because the guy that runs basically the grizzly bears, he's the bear mask wearer. He's basically trying to find anybody with a mask, kill them off, and take the mask. He killed off Rook's one friend in like issue 2 or 3. That was the wild boar controller, and he's got Pumbaa, this giant wild boar. Rook's best friend was the wild boar character, and so Pumbaa's hanging with Rook now and helping him out, even though someone else has the wild boar mask. Pumbaa fought it and wouldn't let him take control of them and stuff in like issue 5 or 6. But in this one, we also get introduced to Sheep Lady. She's up in the mountains with all the mountain goats and stuff, and there's her being introduced to Rook and ready to take him out because she thinks he's coming after her to kill her. Here's the world map that shows all the different helmets all over where they're located and stuff like that, so they can pinpoint and hunt down certain characters, try and get them work with them. The lady that controls the wolf is trying to get the dog controller to work together with them also, and she's got to kind of get him back in the right mindset because he's attacks her, of course, and they go into a battle, but nothing overly seriously happens with those two characters. But the reason I mentioned spoiler, I got to show the character on the last page because I've been waiting for something like this for a while, but we finally got the arachnid, the spider controller. And so we're going to see a big battle with the spiders starting off the next issue. They also show in here that thankfully I got cover A this time. I usually go for like wraparound covers and stuff, but I grabbed this one. And of course, the one page I need it won't open up to for some reason there. But this one and the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's going to be 6 issues. All 6 covers connect to make one big display. You can get the Virgin covers, which I believe are cover C, or get the cover A covers that just say Rook Exodus on the bottom. But yeah, that would look awesome on the wall. So I'm definitely going to try and remember to get cover A for every one of them. But yeah, we're meeting a lot more helmet carriers. So yeah, there's going to be a huge battle pretty soon. That's going to be a badass.
Cool.
Wonderful book. If you're not reading it, there's something wrong with you. Get out there and get them.
All right. We are going to jump back into the reviews of Stitch. Katie?
All right. We have Stitch number 3. Just to refresh, it is published by Dynamite. Creative team is Connor Ratliff, James III as writers, Greta Zella, artist, Fabio Amelia on letters, Edwin Galman on the main cover, and Nate Cosby is the packager and editor. This book is like traumatized Pleakley is how I would sum up this book. All right, so Pleakley is dissatisfied with his life, kind of being a guard slash right-hand alien to Dr. Jumba, because he doesn't want to be evil. He's like, well, I don't actually want to be evil. I would have such a great life if I were not, paired up with Dr. Jumba. Well, lucky for him, Dr. Jumba has a brand new invention that can help him called the Wishmaster 5000. And it's a ray gun kind of looking thing. And it's good to know he's run some tests on this. He's done his iterations and had QA look it over because Dr. Jumba did in fact build 4,999 other Wishmasters. Well, Pleakley is thinking, oh wow, that would be so cool. I could be a race car driver, I could climb Mount Everest, I could be, a basketball player, a unicorn princess, a restaurateur. So he uses the Wishmaster on himself. And all of a sudden his new life has begun, and he is the owner, operator, and dishwasher at Pleakley Burger, which is kind of a upscale hippie burger place where everything is healthy and vegan and plant-based and very, very good. And, at first it seems like it's going okay. And one day he's filming a commercial for Pleakley Burger. And kind of the plot of the commercial is Stitch is giving him burgers to eat, and say, so good, delicious, come to Pleakley Burger. And Lilo makes him do like 50 takes on it. So after eating all these hamburgers, he feels terrible, and Stitch is just chowing him down. He's a bottomless pit. And Pleakley decides, well, maybe I'm not about the fast food life. I am definitely a fine dining girly. So he uses the Wishmaster again and has created a fine dining restaurant in a castle, in a spaceship, in space. And he's so excited. He's wearing his good clothes, going to serve really classy customers, and is going to unveil the dish du jour, and it's a hamburger. And then Pleakley realizes that something is very, very wrong, and Stitch has followed him and is just eating hamburgers nonstop. And this is not what Pleakley wanted. So he uses the Wishmaster again, says, please no more hamburgers, please no more hamburgers. Next page, we see Pleakley and Stitch training to climb Mount Everest. He's going to put the Pleakley planet flag on Mount Everest. He gets to the summit, woohoo, and looks to his left, and there's a giant hamburger already on the summit. And he says, how is there a Pleakley burger on this mountain? And then everything blows up. And he uses the Wishmaster again, and now he's a pro basketball player. And, honestly, he'd probably be pretty good. He's 6 feet, 7 inches, and 87 pounds soaking wet. So, yeah, he might have a chance. And he's going to go for the winning shot, and Stitch walks by, wheeling past a basketball cart full of hamburgers, and the basketball turns into a hamburger. So Pleakley's like, please, no more. Now he's going to be a Formula One driver, right? So he's pulling up in the red and white car, looking super cool, going to the pit stop, and they're going to change his tires, and his tires are hamburgers. You can't win a car race on hamburger tires. And it just keeps getting worse for him. And also, Pleakley's not really learning his lesson here. There's a lesson in here, and it's be very careful what you wish for. Now he's like, well, okay, maybe I'm aiming too high. And so now he wishes himself at the dentist's office, which is interesting because dental hygiene is important, and I get that. But like, do you wish to go to the dentist? That's interesting. But I guess Pleakley does. He's like, you know what? I procrastinated on my cleaning for way too long, so I'm just going to get this done. And the dentist says, all right, we're going to give you some anesthesia before we drill. And it's anesthesia made from liquid hamburgers.
Of course.
And Pleakley is screaming that this makes no sense. So now, once again, wishing to now be a diplomat, and is speaking at an intergalactic peace summit. And he's going to bring peace on Earth and peace on all of the Earths in the galaxy. And Stitch brings out an award for him to recognize his amazing achievement. It's a gold-plated hamburger trophy. And then we see Pleakley get chased by a giant hamburger lady, and Stitch thinks this is all just hilarious. He's barely scared at all. He's like, giant hamburger lady, that's top tier quality. We have a cameo from the ice cream guy that we see in Lilo and Stitch. He's forever embracing the swim trunks and flip-flops way of life, and he's just waiting at the bus stop as these two goofballs are rough lives. And then at the end, Pleakley realizes he's made a mistake, and that Dr. Jumba is his friend, and maybe his life didn't go the way that he thought it was gonna, but he has had some good things in his life, and he's had good people in his life. So he goes to Dr. Jumba as like, hey, I messed this all up. Please fix it. And Dr. Jumba says, well, yeah, of course. I made a second Wishmaster because I knew that Stitch was going to mess with the first one. And I was kind of curious to see what it would do. So Pleakley fixes it all back up, and we find out that Stitch was doing QA on the 4,999 Wishmasters by whacking it with a big hammer, burying it in the snow, and just general tomfoolery, like chewing on it. And then he uses the Wishmaster, sets everything back to normal-ish. And the last image is a hamburger, and poor Pleakley is just like, what have I done? What on earth have I done to deserve this? This reminded me a lot of like the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes, like particularly the segments with Kang and Kodos. It just did. But I thought this was the best one out of the 3 issues I read. It's the most polished. It has, the best like character arc and a plot that to me feels the most cohesive, as much as you can have a cohesive plot about Pleakley being just terrorized by hamburgers. And this was actually pretty funny, and I do think if you want to try and extract some themes or morals from this, be careful what you wish for and be grateful for what you have are really good ones. But I actually really enjoyed this book, and I understand why Pleakley never wants to eat a hamburger again. And hopefully he doesn't have to do that. But this was fun. This was goofy. I liked it. And I can tell that, they are working on it, and they did take the feedback they had received and are improving it. And massive credit for that, because it's not easy to put your baby out there and, have to iterate on it. But that is Stitch #3. And it features a cover of Pleakley climbing Mount Everest with Stitch as the Sherpa. That's my review. Do with it what you will, and go get some hamburgers and read Stitch #3.
Well, that's a great segue into the fact I just ordered a hamburger. So sorry, Eric, we're out of time.
Nice.
No time. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
You know what? One more review. We have time for one more review. What you got?
Okay. Well, this one is put out by Image Comics. Everything Dead and Dying. Nice cheerful title there.
Yeah.
And it actually starts out alarmingly cheerful. We see a farmer by the name of Jack starting out his day, going through his routine. He wakes up with his adopted daughter, goes to have breakfast down with his husband. And as he's going through this routine, you see it interspersed with some rather gory panels which don't seem to fit in with the routine. But he goes through, shows him goes through town. And, basically shows, he goes, he farms. He has a nice idyllic life. It's nice, it's colorful, it's warm. But then you get to see the second day of his routine. Find out that he still goes through his routine, except everyone around him is dead. The mailman still shows up, but he feeds the mailman some rotten viscera, feeds the same thing to his family, goes about the day, even in town, visiting his old friend who has also zombified. You find out that, he had decided to, move away to the outskirts of town with his husband and adopted daughter just to farm. And, several months earlier, there was an outbreak. And for some reason, everyone in the area turned except for him. But he feels that, that this is his home. He takes care of the people around him, and, you feed the zombies, they don't seem to bother him. So he has a nice, he tries to hold on to his idyllic life, traumatized, alone for the most part, but, he still has, the people around him. And these are actually a lot thicker. I didn't take count of the pages, but these are actually much thicker ones. So there's lots of story. You get to hear about, about his thought processes, how he's like, I'm the only one around. No one else is taking care of these people. And, it's like sole survivor. What do you do? But then when the issue ends, he's trying to talk, he's trying to talk to his mailman, and in his mind, it's still the mailman. And his head explodes. So yeah, the artwork here, it's a little gory because, well, zombies. I mean, pretty sure, The Walking Dead wasn't necessarily the nicest scenery, but at least it was black and white, spared us something, right? But turns out there's more survivors, and we're left wondering how is he going to deal with this? And I think, this is I mean, the story is familiar because we all know the zombie tropes, the sole survivor, they feel their last man on earth, they're just holding out. But instead of like being with the group of survivors, this comes upon the person from the point of view of somebody who's being rescued by survivors. And then it makes you wonder, is he going to want to go? I mean, you learn as you read on, he sacrificed everything for his home. He had to move away because, the living situation with his husband is, in the rural area was not the safest for him. But he made his life, and even though this disease came, he didn't want to let it go, which, post-pandemic, I think a lot of us can understand. So looking forward to seeing where this is going. I did actually end up being able to pick up issue number 2, but life has kept me from reading it, so I'll have to follow up with this one because, like I said, the art, I mean, it goes from colorful as he remembers the good old days to the dark, bloody, visceral reality of what he faces himself in. It's an interesting dichotomy, but while we're able to see two different things, it's all the same to him. It's his life and his routine, and he feels it's not just his because all the neighbors, all the other zombies seem to be going through the team they went through as they were alive, even though, you know, they're mindless flesh-eating monsters. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing what happens to him after he gets to meet the survivors. So, but yeah, if you miss The Walking Dead, I think Everything Dead and Dying will definitely, fill that void in your heart.
And it's funny that you mentioned too, with Walking Dead being in black and white and this one being in color, because currently the Walking Dead is redoing all of the issues in color. So it's just kind of funny little commentary that, yeah, miss The Walking Dead. Now you can also get in color, but you can also check out a brand new story. So
yeah, that is one thing. I mean, sure, it's in color, but we know what happens.
Yeah.
Rick dies. And I don't need to buy like a bunch of hundreds of new issues just to see it happen again.
All right. On that note, that is going to be the end of the episode. Thanks again, Eric, for hanging out, and glad to see you back. This will be the quick promo, plugs, links, and all that stuff. crimsoncowl.com for info and original webcomics. If you want to buy comics that are produced by Crimson Cowl Media, go to crimsoncowlcomics@gmail.com and send David a message over there. The audio version is on iTunes, Crimson Cowl Comic Club. Subscribe, rate, and review. If you want the full video version where you get some of the gory visuals with some of the art and the books that were talked about on this very episode, subscribe to Crimson Cowl Comic Club over on YouTube. Kirby, you host Under the Cowl of MS. If you want to let people know what's been going on over there.
Yeah, by the time this comes out, I'll probably have a bunch of unpackings to check out from Comics Curing Cancer's event. And I did daily Halloween reviews, but I still got a huge stack, so I'll probably be doing Halloween style reviews for quite some time yet. And lots of other fun things going on out there. So Go to the live shows section if you want to see me on other people's shows and stuff like
All
that.
right.
Lots of
Sounds good. So, yes, subscribe to Under the Cowl of MS over on YouTube and the other social accounts. I have Anthony Laatsch on Facebook and Instagram for my artwork, LAATSCH. I had an entire month of Boktober, which is our friend Brian Lynch's Hot Wing of Justice Boktober prompts. Kirby joined in on those as well. I decided to draw Kermit in various styles throughout all of the month. So all of that art is up there, and I have a lot of other art that may start showing up in the feeds by the time this episode comes out. But for the audio listeners, you're not going to see the thing I'm teasing to the video listeners. So you're just going to have to sit in silence for a couple seconds. A tease for some November post that I've been prepping with some characters that might be recognizable. You have no idea what you're missing,
yep.
iTunes audience. So there we go. Follow my art accounts over there. My host, Cartoonist by Night, alongside my artist friends over on YouTube. Some of the latest episodes, we had Art Baltazar and Jamie Cosley on to talk about their frog book, Fribbits, as well as returning to our game of 5 from memory, where we were given 5 cartoon character suggestions that none of us knew prior. We had 5 minutes to draw them from memory without reference. And when you have Art Baltazar and Jamie Cosley on, who originated that game, where we lifted that game from their show, it was an absolute blast to see all of the results. And then we also, by the time this comes out, we'll have dropped a catch-up episode with Shane Campos and Chris O'Connell, where we just draw and discuss anything and just kind of catching up with what they've been working on. So yeah, subscribe to Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube for lots of drawing episodes. And then promotion. This may or may not be the last. This may or may not be out in time, but I'll just say it anyways. WarriorCon, Saturday, November 22nd. Crimson Cowl Media will be there with David and Kurt, and I will be there as well, not only representing Crimson Cowl Media, but as well as Cartoonist by Night, representing them as well. But this is WarriorCon, run by my friend Bernie over at All Yeah Comics. Lots of awesome people are going to be at that show in Des Plaines, Illinois. But don't remember if this episode will be out in time for that, but we promoted it before. So once again, WarriorCon, Saturday, November 22nd. And if this comes out after the fact, thank you for coming out to WarriorCon on Saturday, November 22nd, and buying everything that we have to offer. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. If you like the show, give it all the likes and thumbs up and the subscribes and tell a friends, all of that sort of thing. Eric?
If I can, I'd just like to do a shout out. She allowed me to put a flyer up in her store. If you're in the Cedar Rapids area, a good place to pick up your comic book and collectible needs is definitely Alter Ego in Marion, Iowa, north of Cedar Rapids. Since I moved, it has become my new comic haunt. She's been really good maintaining my pull list. So it's a nice little independent store. If you're in the area, though I don't know why you would be. I mean, it's Iowa. But anywho, if you are, definitely it's a nice little store worth checking out.
Excellent. Always great for a shout out there. All right, that is going to do it then for this episode. This whole time, I've been concentrating on Lucha Libre.
I've been knocked out by bloodthirsty wildlife.
I've been building 4,999 masters.
I've been getting drooled on by an 80-pound lap dog.
To be continued.
Thank you, Slimer.